Welcome to Clinical Data Talks, a podcast brought to you by CRS Cube. I'm your host, Sylvain Berthelot. Join me and industry experts as we discuss the latest trends that impact the world of clinical data. My guest today is Kelly Forrester from Vita Global Sciences. She is an industry expert, especially in data management, having been in the industry for nearly 30 years. Her experience spans many renowned CROs, and she's now overseeing data management at Vita. And if this wasn't enough, she lives on a farm and takes care of many animals in her spare time. So, hi, Kelly. Nice to have you on the podcast. How are you?
Thank you for having me, Sylvain. I'm good. Nice to see you.
Do you prefer data management or looking after animals?
I think it's a great balance. I don't think I have a preference. They both energize me and keep me going.
Nice. So today together we're going to talk about the role of data managers, and I'm really looking forward to our discussion because you have a lot of experience in that space, and I couldn't think of anyone else to have this discussion with. So first of all, considering you've been in the industry for nearly 30 years, could you tell us if, in your opinion, the role of data managers has changed over time?
It absolutely has. I think that this role is evolving into a smarter role. And the things that they asked us to do in the past in the form of any data management position was so methodical. Too many pieces and parts to put together. But when I started about 30 years, it was truly a checklist to get through your day and a lot of activity. But today we're using our brains more, we're more independent thinking, and we actually offer more to any study or research program.
Interesting. I didn't realize that it was more of a checklist before, and now it's more involved in a way if you need to think more. That's very interesting. What would you say have been the drivers of those changes over the years?
Well, I think it's easy to point to regulations, but I think it's more accurate to point to smarter protocols, clients that expect more of data management. I've always thought of data management as the glue to what keeps research going. So we're the beginning and part of the end story. And so I really think it's the smartness of the protocols, the diseases and the conditions that we're studying. And as we've evolved as humans, so has the need for medicines and over-the-counter products that make our lives better and easier.
Yeah, and you're putting something very pertinent about it being the beginning and part of the end. And is there anything in between as well that data managers get involved in?
Absolutely. So as the data is collected, we learn more, we know more, and protocols change throughout the life of a study. It's no longer that a protocol is stable and ends up the same beast that it began. And so we're part of that fact-finding mission, as well as to see what the data shows us. Where is it leading us, and what is it really indicating? So all protocols start with primary and secondary endpoints, and there's a rationale for the disease research or the condition. But as you learn, we do better. We're able to tailor our protocols and databases, and then the message of the data, I think, in a much more structured way. But you don't always know the findings in the beginning. Mm-hmm. So it's quite interesting to be a part of that. So a lot in the middle, but a lot in the beginning that just gets us started off the starting block. So it's a quite exciting, I think, job. I don't look at it as a job, it's a passion. And for those of us that have been in the industry for a long time, that passion has to make sense.
Yes, and that's what I love about our industry, the fact that a lot of people actually are here too, because they feel like they're making a difference. And that passion, you find it in so many people. I love that. So where do you think data managers really add value then in clinical trials, considering they're there throughout the trial execution?
Well, to elaborate on fact finding, so I think where we really shine is that we're able to help make a message, help tailor and understand what the data is showing us. If we're smart enough, we're catching the key indicators, we're looking at where the data is taking us, we're looking at the adverse effects, and we're keeping the rest of the team informed. So that's where I think the role has evolved so well, is that those of us that are still here and that really have passion for it, we're able to help read that data. And we're certainly not physicians, and we certainly don't bring to the table the expertise needed to interpret that data to ensure that the protocols are written correctly and so that the medicines work. But we are able to point out hard facts as well as nuances in the data that others don't see on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and I think you're alluding to teamwork essentially, and
Absolutely.
how data managers interact with a lot of different actors of the clinical trials within the clinical team. There's one role, because you mentioned like we don't know how to interpret the data in a way, or we don't know the stats behind that, and there's the big role of biostatistics. Do you see the right level of collaboration between data managers and biostat?
I actually do. I think there's a whole lot more planning and proactive nature to that collaboration. It's a marriage, if you will. And without one, the other one doesn't really make sense. And so to plan a study, you have to have that collaboration, that teamwork at step one. And step one is finishing or adopting or even adding to a protocol, adding our expertise if we've been in an indication for a long time, able to talk about the things that we've seen in the past, or to watch out for the things that we have tripped on in the past. So that collaboration is key. It's absolutely necessary. We're not a standalone department, and without biostatistics and even the help of all of the other ancillary departments, data management doesn't make sense. You can gather the data, but what do you do with it at that point? And so it is a very large team effort.
Yes, I assume you need to understand as well the end goal in order to start on the right foot. So do you see, still on the collaborations, you work with a lot of different sponsors, do you see that it's easy to collaborate with trial teams within all the sponsors you work with? Or is it something that, do you have to sell the role of data managers in a way?
I haven't felt like we've had to sell the role of data management in the last 10 years. I think that the criticalness of the role, the importance of the department, the teamwork that we can bring to any study team, I think that those have been seen and that the value has really risen as, again, we've become smarter data managers. I really don't feel like there's a selling point any longer. And I feel like teams and clients especially are eager for that input and that feedback.
Yeah, that's good. I heard, when was it? It was at SCDM in Boston last year, someone say, well, I think that was a big theme actually of SCDM, like data managers finally have a seat at the table. So do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that the seat, again, before 30 years ago when I started, that seat was very defined. We knew what our role was, which lent itself to the checklist. As long as you could get through your day and get the things done that needed to be done, you were doing well. And now we have a seat at the table and the conversation is open. So we do add expertise, we do add experience, and I think clients are excited to get that input. It's not always incorporated because, again, we're not physicians. We're not the scientists developing the drugs. And so we rely on them for that expertise. but the conversations are much broader.
Yeah, well, that's good. So, I'm in technology. I love technology, as you would expect.
Yes, me too.
And I'm a bit worried about what you're going to answer to this question.
Oh no.
Do you think technology fulfills what data managers need from it at the moment?
I think the story is still evolving. I think that there are some tools that are incredibly necessary for us to do our jobs that also help in the ease of doing our jobs. I know your passion being AI. There's a lot of unknown territory out there. So many people are talking about the tools of AI, and yet there are no thought leaders, I think, that are stepping forward and taking the risk just yet. Or that's what I have seen. I do think that there are some tools that we have come to lean on, but those tools evolve as the needs of the studies and the patients evolve, so do the tools. And so that's really exciting to me, just because we're never going to get stagnant. We don't have to think we know our jobs inside and out. And that's what keeps, I think, the field exciting for me, is that it's constantly evolving. And it is exciting to be a part of that. It's exciting to see a drug hit the market and to know that you had even a small piece of that. And the tools help make that possible. I think clients want to go faster and cheaper and better all the time. And that's where tools really do help. They are cost cutters. They can do things in a much more methodical way that takes us a lot longer. And so, in essence, it can make our jobs easier. I've enjoyed learning about the tools, but they're still evolving. They're still coming. And that is exciting.
Yeah, I agree to some extent in a way, actually, because I fully agree with you that tools are evolving. And it's great because, I mean, our industry keeps evolving from regulation requirements, from trying to be more efficient, reducing timelines, and so on. At the same time, we still use tools that don't seem to have evolved that much since they started. So, for example, EDC does a specific task.
Yep.
And that task in itself is not necessarily evolving that much. And I'm wondering if the tools are evolving enough, actually, to carry on or to support not only data managers, but sites, for example, in the data capture. What do you think about that?
I think you're right in that the EDC platform's function has been caught, and I wouldn't say that it's stagnated, because I think that different tools, different companies are adding different collaborations to their EDC systems. It's a build upon, if you will. And so, again, it's nice to see those companies that are investing in those tools, that are investing, I think, in that way of discovery, and nobody's reinventing the wheel. I think that there are some systems, as you speak of EDC, that are easier to use than others. There are some that have limitations, and it's about learning those tools and what a client's preference might be. I can see your point that it may not have evolved enough, let's just say over the last 3 decades, but I can think about products that we were using 30 years ago that would never cut it in the market today. There are EDC systems that are dead, that are no longer being used. They did not serve the end user at the site well. And it was hard to get the data in such a format that we could do adequate cleaning. And so I think that, again, there are some tools that have evolved, that have supported the needs. But that's part of the excitement, is watching the different tools rolling out. So the basic function is still there, but I do think that there are some companies that have actually invested in ancillary tools or improving the nature of their platform. And that's exciting to see.
Yes, and hopefully we're one of them.
Well, without being product placement, I would say yes, you are. I've been very impressed with CRS Cube system.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And that's hard to do for somebody that's been in the industry for 30 years to impress with an EDC system. So that's been a lot of fun to learn about your technology.
Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you. You mentioned AI. I have to ask, do you have any, not expectations necessarily, but wish of what you'd like AI to do for data managers?
That's a really good question. And I think that as I attend some of the industry conferences and actually see some of the tools that are out there, I think that there are some ideas about AI that are really forward thinking. You mentioned SCDM, and I sat in on a conversation about a car whose wheel would get all of your vitals, and if something should happen to you in your driving, a message would be sent somehow directly to your doctor. And the scenario was very elaborate, all the way to the way of treatment and getting help on the side of the road. But then at the very end of the conversation, the gentleman asked, how many of you, with show of hands, would actually buy a vehicle like this? And nobody raised their hand. So what I would like to see is, as the industry is changing and things are being developed and even discussed, where are those risk takers? I've already talked about there's not a lot of companies out there just grabbing a hold of all of this new technology. I think we have a more deliberate action, wait and see. Let's see if it really does fit the need, and let's see if there's a market for it. So as fast as we can develop the tools, it doesn't mean they'll be used, and it doesn't mean they're always helpful. So I would like to be a part of that, which is why I'm still in data management after all of these years.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think, and I fully agree with you that it's a bit of a wait and see situation.
Mm.
And I've heard like companies really looking into AI, especially around data, because we're requiring more data, and it's getting more difficult to be able to analyze all this data in a way, or to know where to look, especially with wearables and so on. However, I don't see necessarily those companies doing it with an end goal in mind. And
Right.
I feel like sometimes, because if you have a lot of data, it's very easy to do data mining. But if you don't know what you're going to mine the data for, then it's pointless.
Right.
So I'm wondering if we really have enough of an end goal to achieve with AI for it to be, for the big AI stuff to be really impactful. On the other hand, I see AI being used on very like localized, practical aspects of clinical trials, and I feel like currently, at least, it has more of an impact because it can bring faster efficiencies or data quality. So yeah, I'm really interested. Like as you said, that's something that I love. Not necessarily because I want us to use AI. I think AI needs to have a means, but at the same time, I think it can be transformational for the industry.
It can be, and just because we can develop it doesn't mean we'll use it. So I like your thought that an end goal has to be in mind. And I think that's what AI is right now. It's an open frontier without a lot of end goal. So just because we can develop it and we can use it, what are we using it for? And at what cost?
Yeah. So going back to the role of data managers and linking with the amount of data that we capture now, which is much broader than what we did probably 20, 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
How do you manage that as a data manager?
Well, such is the nature of research, right? There's the must-haves, and then there's the exploratory part of collecting data. And I think that it goes back to teamwork. It goes back to the conversations that you have during the beginning of the study and as the study evolves. What is it that's critical? What is it that is not a Christmas wish list, if you will? What is it that we must be looking at? And then the rest of the data, how can we turn that into a story? How can it be part of the current story? And is it needed? And I think that is the smart thinking in designing protocols, but in designing databases that reflect protocols. Unless it's an exploratory study, you have a very specific end goal in mind. A lot of data may be captured, but not a lot of data may be needed. There may be some pieces of that data that is tucked away for future use or conversation should it be needed. And that's what we see, I think, when the amount of data is so large, not in the numbers and population, but the amount of data being collected on one subject. Is it needed? And I think that that's where clients are really getting involved for the faster, the more cost-effective approach to developing databases. And then if time and money allow, yep, sure, it's great to collect the rest or the additional data, but what will be done with it? So it's about the conversation. It's about setting the goals in the beginning. And I think that those have to be adhered to.
Yeah, a very good point. And we're going back to the collaboration question.
Yes.
It's like we're not going in circles, but it all ties in very nicely. I have one last question for you.
Sure.
What's the best piece of advice you've received that you consistently apply in your work?
That's an easy one. It's not enough to do a good job anymore. I think that what we don't know and what is still evolving in the industry, it's important for those of us that are in this for the passion to pass on that baton to the ones below us, the ones coming up in the industry. I won't be doing this forever, as long as I possibly can. But I think it's important to always invest in those that support us. I'm only as good at my job as the team below me or as the team that I help to lead. So I think the best piece of advice is not pay it forward, but turn around and look who's behind you and to pass that baton for the things that we don't know, because they'll be the ones that will help define AI. And hopefully clinical research continues to grow in intelligence.
Yeah, that's very nice. And I completely agree with you. We need to pave the path for the next generation, or even not a generation below, but the next people who will take over, and who we are likely to depend on for new treatments actually as well. So
absolutely.
Wow. Wonderful, Kelly. Thank you so much for your time. It's been amazing chatting to you. I'm sure I'll see you soon at an industry event.
Yes, you will. And thank you for including me in this. Congratulations to you.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure. And thanks all for listening or watching us. You can visit our website to find more Clinical Data Talks episodes.